podcast where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie authors on their journey toward publication. I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
I'm Christina Katainen. I write multiple genres, including Christian dystopian fiction.
I'm Rhonda Hagerman, and I write both fiction and nonfiction.
Well, it's so good to be with you ladies today. After that fun 1-year anniversary episode that we aired last week, it's really neat to kind of be back in the saddle and discussing all things writing. Each week we go around the square. Can't really go around the circle, can we? Because we're all in a square formation anyway. And we say, what's up? What is going on with you ladies in your personal lives? So Jennifer, what's up with you?
Well, I guess I've been praying about this a lot, but I'm going to share that my headaches are back. You three know what I've been suffering with for the past couple years, and but I don't talk about it online on here often, and I got some relief from it about a year ago, and it was just such a blessing from God. But I just want to put it out there so that people could be praying for me. I really would appreciate it because they are back pretty much full force. And the relief I received was through physical therapy, which was great, but expensive. My copay is very, very, very expensive, and it doesn't really fit our budget right now. Though my husband is trying to force me to go, I'm hoping that God will just intervene. So that's what's up with me. Everything else is great in here. The girls are good. They're back at school and life is going well. And it's Friday, so everything is good with me. What about you, Tina?
Well, I was really excited because on was it Memorial Day? No, it was Labor Day.
Labor Day.
I get my holidays mixed up. I was scrolling through something on the internet and I found this Asian market down in Madison Heights. It's supposed to be the largest one in the Midwest. And I've been wanting to go to an Asian market because I want to make my sister-in-law's from Thailand and she's taught me a few recipes, but it's really hard to find those little red chili peppers in the grocery stores where I live. And it's also very hard to find different kinds of mushrooms other than like the baby bella and button mushrooms. Other than that, like the really ones with the long stems with the little
shiitake.
Tiny. Well, yeah, there's shiitake, and then there's these other ones too, and you can't find them around here. So I said to my husband, I really want to go here, thinking like, down the road, we'd go down there, and they have like you can eat in there. There's like a Mongolian barbecue and a buffet and there's like just several different places to eat inside the grocery store. So I'm like, we can have lunch. So he just like, okay, I'm coming home. He quit working because he makes his own hours, and took me that day down to Madison Heights, and we went to the Asian grocery store, and it was a really fun adventure because none of the people that work there really speak English. Like our cash register lady that was checking us out, Bob was trying to be friendly, and she just didn't say anything. I don't think she spoke English.
That's hilarious.
And so some of the products did not have English descriptions on them, so you weren't quite sure what they were. But we spent like over $100, and I didn't get any produce because I already had a fridge full of produce, but I did get some red chili peppers, and they had every mushroom you could ever imagine. They had it. So I definitely want to go back. And afterwards, we went to this noodle house place where when you sat down to eat, they did not give you silverware. Like there were chopsticks on the table. And my son and my husband had to request forks.
That's awesome.
For their food. And so it's the best Chinese food I've had since I was in China, honestly. So it was good. I had a really great Labor Day. A lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome. It's been a week of great husband time then, because my husband was home. Hooray. And it was really interesting because the hurricane was supposed to come. So he was going to be here for the first time that we experienced a hurricane, which was really exciting. And I think he was secretly happy, even though it meant he had a truck breakdown to deal with. Oh, hello, Robin. She's joining us in the chat. We appreciate it. And so anyway, truck broken down, boo-hoo, we're not making any money, but hooray, husband gets to come home. And so I also had a really wonderful week just tooling around the villages here in Florida, and we did not get any hurricane activity to speak of. Like, we had a day of like more clouds than usual and a lot more wind than usual, but it just kind of felt like tropical breezes. So we were very blessed. And we're very thankful. And I do hope that the people who were affected can get relief. And I continue to pray for them. So that's how my week was. What about you, Rhonda?
Well, my week was really good. Most of that has to do with writing, but I got so much stuff accomplished this week. It was a really great week. I got to be at my own house instead of my grandma's house.
Yay.
And as much as I don't like house cleaning, it was great to get some stuff done. But I think probably everybody knows that I'm a daughter of the American Revolution. And Sunday, a week from Sunday, they are dedicating my 6th grade grandfather's grave. And it is so unusual for your own, unless you live in New York or Connecticut, for your own patriot to be in the same area that you're in. And so anyway, they're dedicating the grave, and it's going to be a huge event. The cable news station is going to be there and all this stuff. Well, that's September 15th, and we are flying out of the country on September 13th.
Oh, no.
So I have to miss it. And I've known about this since May, and I have done everything. I have tried everything I could think of to manipulate these people to either not go to Croatia until the 16th or until get them to move the date of the dedication. And it hasn't worked out for me. But the real blessing here is that my brother is actually going to go in my place. I mean, he could have gone with me if I'd gone, but he wouldn't have gone otherwise if I hadn't called him and said, please, you're the only family we have in this area. Would you please, please, please go? And he loves me just enough that he's going to go and represent us.
That's awesome.
No,
Rob, I'm sorry.
No,
Robin says that the hurricane is heading straight there and that her husband works on ships in the harbor. So we'll be praying for you, Robin.
Oh, let's pray for her.
She also said that she's glad that you weren't hit, Jamie. We all are. That's an answer to prayer, if you ask me, because we've all been praying for you.
Yeah. Yeah, to the degree where we wondered what the situation would be. Would I be around? Would I have power? Yeah, but we'll have to pray. Keep Robin in our prayers for that. All right. So we have anyone else commenting in the chat, Jen, before we move along? I don't have really the ability that you do to keep up with that, but we're going to move right on.
Go right ahead. I'll take care of that.
We're still talking about awesome. We're still talking about building our platform as authors, and mostly because we're on this newsletter track and we're talking about setting up a newsletter, and we've already covered what you can do in an automated sequence. So someone signs up to get your newsletter, they get an automated series of emails that come to their inbox that say, thank you for joining. Please click here to confirm you would like emails, and then their freebie instructions, how to get that, blah, blah, blah. Now, all of that is done as a bring the person into the mailing list. But now we're going to talk a little bit about content going forward, because it's not always a robotic series. You're obviously going to have to start creating content, right? Yes. And
Exactly.
so Rhonda, would you care to share with us, there was a survey of 21,000 readers, and they talked about what content readers actually like to see in a newsletter.
Okay, so 43% of the respondents said they want access to exclusive, unpublished writing. I would be one of those. 36% want insider information about the book or the series. 33% want sample chapters, and downloadable extras. And 33% of readers want weekly emails from their favorite authors with news and updates about books in progress.
So I love that you jumped on that, Rhonda, when you said that would be me, because the part that you said that for was the exclusive unpublished writing. So a lot of our listeners are not published or, don't have a lot of books out there, maybe one or two. So that's encouraging right there. You could start your newsletter before you're published, right? Because people just want to see like things that are like insider writing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other thing that
Yeah.
really stuck out to me is that 33% of readers, a full third of readers, want weekly emails from their favorite authors. Weekly. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means and what you should be putting in your email today, your emails after you do your autoresponder. However, that's interesting because that's a weekly thing. And a lot of us are like, oh, they don't want to hear from me, or oh, I don't want to make them sick of us or sick of me. So let's talk about that today. Like, what do you put in it? How often should you do it? And what will make it where they're not sick of you, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I do know that it is important that you write these emails as though you're writing to one person. Isn't that right, Tina?
Yes, I actually did some research, and because I knew that I had heard from different places here and there about things that you should put in your emails, and it's specifically their title, so that you will get the people to open your email, because
Well, we're
you're
talking
over.
about titles in a little bit, right? I guess I shouldn't have interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Well, that's the research I did, was specifically about your titles.
All right, go ahead.
So,
Well, okay.
go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, and for the listeners, you have to understand that for whatever reason, I'm having a really bad lag. So if I'm jumping all on top of everybody, I really apologize. But Tina, I was asking more for you to speak about the importance of individualizing the email. Like, could you just speak to the importance of that?
Like to the readers or for the writer? I guess I don't.
To the reader. So as a writer, yeah.
I can answer to that. I know what she's asking, Tina. What she's saying is like, you don't ever put on your emails, don't say, hey everyone, how's it going? Or hey y'all. Like, you have to make sure that when you write it, it's personal. Now, whether or not you choose to use the formatting in your email aggregator that would say, hey Jamie, if it would take the name off or not, you at least would say, good morning, how are you today? Like, you always use you. You don't ever use everyone. And because when people get those emails that are like to mass produced like that, they don't feel like they're part of the insider area of your life. And that's what the whole point of a newsletter is. Robin says, ouch, weekly blogs are hard enough, let alone an email. Yeah, I get it. I don't blog. I had a conversation though with Maria, who is not here today, about how you can just include your blog into your email. We can talk about
That's
that
what I
later
was just
too.
gonna say. Is like you could have
I
your
was also
blog be
gonna
your
suggest
email.
Which is what we do here.
Yes, I mean, yeah. So when you have done a blog entry, that is what your content of your email is. So it sort of seemed to me that you're kind of already doing it, Robin. You're just, so now you just send as a newsletter. Look, there's a new blog post, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about the fact that you want to include content that has been proven to be of interest to people, and that you want to make sure that your emails are individualized, not just, hey, everybody. Okay. So now we are moving on to the content, and we've made a little list of them here. So anybody who wants to go ahead and throw out something that's on the list that speaks to them to talk about, that's fine. I do see the first thing here is if you have a new release, which seems to me to be kind of a no-brainer because you want people to buy books. I mean, isn't that really kind of the point of having an email list? So you have a new book out, you want people to know.
Right.
Okay, I have a question as someone who has not started the newsletter yet. Okay, so I, as a curator of the Historical Society, I put out the newsletter. So we have a printed one, and then obviously a writer's not going to do a printed one. but we also have the same thing goes in emails. And we have sections. We have the director's letter, we have the curator's report, we have excerpts from old newspapers. So we've got different sections. So when a writer sends a newsletter out, is it going to be just like a letter with different paragraphs, topics in every paragraph? Or would it be a newsletter like you would receive from a group?
That's a great question. And I got that same question from a listener who messaged me on Twitter a couple of weeks ago. And really, the newsletter should represent you. So, like, if you're someone who would just kind of write a few paragraphs and send it, then okay. Or what I suggested, because this person was struggling, like, what am I going to put on a newsletter? I started playing around with mine, and I'm doing like what you said. Like, I have different sections, and which will help with the things that we're about to talk about that you can put in your newsletter. But if you have parts of your newsletter that are always going to be like what I'm reading, and that's a box that you would just fill something different in each week. What I'm writing, and you put a little update about your writing, things like that. Then you just have, and like Robin brought up while you were talking, she says, my emails are chatty. My blogs are more instructional, so different mood. Totally get that. So just write one little paragraph about the fact that you just wrote a new blog post and then the link to it. The writing should be short paragraphs, not long form, because how many of you guys have opened up an email that was super long paragraphs and then you were excited to read that email? Like 0 people, right? So the newsletter doesn't have to be a super long thing. Does that answer your question, Rhonda?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if it were me, that's how I would format it for you. I would do something in MailerLite or MailChimp, whatever you're using, and that it would be the different things that you always have in a regular newsletter, and then you just go in every week or every month and you rewrite those little parts there. So for me, I start off with like a paragraph, because I'm chatty as well, in mine, much more than I am in other things, I would say. And I do the chatty part up first, and then I have these different blocks. And then because I'm still selling at the very bottom, there's still going to be a picture for my latest book that you can click on, that you can buy it. So, So new releases, obviously, that's an obvious one. Updates on writing of the next book. So even if you're published or not published, you can tell them what you've done that week. So this is what all I've done is edit this one scene all week long, but it's going to be great, people. I can't wait for you to see it. Anyone else have any suggestions?
Principles are always fun.
Well, apparently I am apparently going in and out. So I sort of am wearing this blank expression and staring, trying to let you guys know that I'm here when I'm here, but I you guys are disappearing on me and then coming back and things like that. So if I don't answer, I'm not trying to ignore you. I'm just kind of in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So principles are fun. What do you mean, Tina? Explain.
Well, when I get a principle in my email, I get excited. So, like, if you have principles to give away, if you have a certain thing that you can give away as a resource, people love that kind of thing. Yeah, and I specifically go online looking for principles a lot because of homeschooling. And when I find them and then they say sign up to my newsletter, I do it right away. I don't even hesitate because those things are just awesome to me.
And that's especially important, I think, if you write nonfiction, because your nonfiction audience is going to want to keep getting information from you. But I've heard of romance authors that make like printables that on a regular sheet of paper of like quotes of their like good quotes from within their book with pretty stuff on it, and people will print them and put them up on their not chalkboard, bulletin board. Thank you.
Like vision board.
Yeah. And then just as inspiration, or even if you wanted to find inspirational quotes. So yeah, that would be a lot of fun. I never thought about that. That's a great idea. I mean, I've seen it before, but I never thought about actually doing it.
If you wrote romance, you could do paper dolls.
Like in the clothing of the time period, that would take a lot of work. I don't think I want to do that. But I've shared research before, because I do write romance, but I write historical romance. So I've shared like pictures of like that I've come across of like the actual car of that someone would be in, or I've shared the pictures of the dresses, especially in Anna's story, I share like links to the museum, the Met Museum in New York, with where these certain dresses are on, on display.
Another thing you could do is, with the big push into adult coloring, you could do a coloring page of your cover.
Someone I follow
the
who's a romance.
cover.
Oh, the cover. Yeah. Somebody I know that is a romance writer. Somebody drew a picture of a scene and gave it to her, and she put it out there as a coloring page, and people were eating it up. I'm not an adult colorer. I like art, but that doesn't speak to me. But people were loving that. That was a great idea. Yeah.
Right.
The thing that I
Well,
think
and frankly, I like the idea. I like the idea of having it be sort of a format. We tried to do a format here on the Christian Indie Writers podcast where it's like this, then this, then this, because it takes some of the guesswork out for you. And it also, I think, gives the reader an expectation, and then they know what they're going to get when they open your email. And I love this idea of, like you said, what am I reading this week? And then there, whatever it is you happen to be reading. And then what you can ask a random question. Like, if you were a flavor of ice cream, what would you be? And then you put your answer, right? So I think it's really kind of a neat idea to have featured sections that you always do, because also it can keep you accountable. So if you're telling the readers what you're reading this week, well, you'd better be reading something, right? I mean, so it can help you to also advance your career that way.
You'd also better be writing. If you have a section in there, what I'm writing this week, that like they will keep on you. And that the question part, Jamie, is really, I think, very important with your newsletter, because you want people to subscribe to your newsletter because they feel like they are part of the process, that they're on the inside, they're an insider. And when I ask questions, if people respond, if they send an email back and respond, I always answer them back, because that's a personal touch that you don't get from most authors, and people are looking for that. So make sure if you ask a question, make sure you go back and you answer them. And I'll tell you, I have close to 100. I don't have a huge list. I have close to 100. And when I ask a question, I maybe get 2 or 3 responses, and that's okay. So don't worry that when you get 20,000 subscribers that you're going to spend all week answering these answers. It won't, because not everybody's going to answer. But the ones that do, if you respond, you're one step closer to making that subscriber into a fan, and hopefully into a super fan, because that's the goal, is to create super fans.
Okay, so did we talk about all of the different ideas that we could do for content? Can we throw it to Tina now to talk to us a little bit about subject lines?
That would be great.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Tina.
Okay, so I looked up 2 different kinds of research that I did. One was what not to put in your subject line, and one was what to put in your subject line. So I have a couple of lists here. I'm going to touch on some of the things that I felt were important. There's you could Google these subjects and you'll find lots of advice out there. So the things that you should put in your subject line goes right along with what you put inside of your email. So personalize it. Don't put their name. Like, don't say, "Dear Jamie," in your subject line. That'll send you straight to spam.
It also sends you straight to trash if it gets through to me, because as soon as I see my name in it, I know, because my friends would never send me a message. Like if Rhonda were sending me like an email with a document that we needed, she would never say, "Hey, Jen, here's the document." She would never do that. Right.
Right. So by personalizing it, I mean, put something in your subject line referring to content that is personal to your reader. So if they care about the history of Lansing, then say something about the history of Lansing in your subject line, and that will increase your open rate and also keep you from being marked as spam. You don't want to put anyone's name in there. So another one is ask a question, but you want to be careful what kind of question you ask. You don't want to say like, "Do you have my latest book?" You don't want to say that. And again, make it personal. Have you heard what Esther's up to? Like that, like that would make your reader, "Oh, what is Esther up to?" And they would open that.
I did a newsletter that said, "What happened to Esther?" Because it was delayed in coming out, and I had I think the best open rate I've had of any of my emails.
Right. So if you ask a question, that's a really good way to get your email open. But like I said, be careful what kind of question. Be mysterious. So your question, what happened to Esther? That's mysterious. Like, oh my gosh, what did happen to Esther? So like you were meaning like the story of Esther, but maybe your readers thought like something happened to the character. You know, because
Exactly.
people think to get invested in
Mm.
your character, and so that was a great opening line.
And how about the people that have not read it? Like, you'll get people on your newsletter list that like they'll download your freebie, but haven't gotten around to reading it, won't know anything about your books yet. They won't even know who Esther is. They're like, well, what did happen to Esther? Who is Esther? You know, so
Yes. So that
that's a great one.
mysteriousness, the question,
Mhm.
also to make them feel like they're missing out on something. So you could say like, what did you think about Esther's decision? And just leave that hanging there.
Mm.
Like, and Esther made a decision. I'm missing out. I'm missing something, and that would get them. Keep it simple. If you can make it funny, make it funny, or any kind of controversy or shocking. Like, I don't know that would work for like romance, or maybe even fiction, maybe nonfiction. If there was some kind of controversy, like you were writing about, you might want to put that in because that'll get people to open it. People love to hear about controversy. So those are some ways to get higher open rates on your emails. Some don'ts. Do not use more than one punctuation mark in
Guilty.
your. That's a really good way to get automatically marked as spam.
Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation
Yeah.
point is no longer. I can't do that anymore.
No, that's a no-no.
I'm bad about that.
Never use all caps. Never. We all probably know this. Never use the RE semicolon or forward colon in your title. Never.
Oh.
Because that will also get you marked as spam.
That's interesting, because back in the day
Yes.
when email was just for business, like that's what you did, right? Is that what you're going to say, Jamie?
No, what I was going to ask is you're telling me this list of don'ts, but are they all things that will get me put in Google jail, or are they all things that will make people not open my email, or both? Like, so why would I not do these things?
One or the other. They're considered spammy. So if you were sending a business email, Jennifer, I think that having regarding and the topic would be perfectly okay. But if you're sending a marketing email, which let's be honest, our newsletters as authors are marketing emails. We are marketing ourselves, we are marketing our characters, and we're marketing our books. You do not want to use those in marketing emails. Because if Google doesn't mark you as spam or whatever mail, like Yahoo or whatever that your person is using, that person might think you're spam and mark you as spam themselves. And never, like I already said,
Gotcha.
don't ever say, "Dear Jamie, have you read my book?" or whatever. That will get you marked as spam. If you want there's an extensive list of things that you should not put in your opening line, and if you want a really good one, just Google the ultimate list of spam trigger words, and it will take you to a HubSpot page, and it has a whole list there.
Awesome.
So
all right. Well, on our little outline, we have next to discuss frequency, but I think people really would rather know how to find new subscribers, and we're getting about to the end of our chat time on this subject. So how do you guys feel about just skipping right to that? Because I think that is one of the burning questions people have.
Yeah, that's fine, because honestly, we could just sum up frequency with whatever you're comfortable with. Just be consistent. If you can do weekly, because obviously that survey showed that people want it weekly. But if you can't do that, do it bi-weekly, do it monthly, whatever. Just be consistent.
right.
Okay, and if you ladies can just go ahead and have a conversation about finding new subscribers, because my lag is so bad, I'm so gonna barrel right over you all. So just take it away.
All right. So Tina, you and I are the ones that have a newsletter, an ongoing newsletter. Why don't you start and say how you got your subscribers?
Well, mine was mostly Facebook and my website. I offered a free serial story.
Well, be
Uh,
specific. What do you by Facebook? Did you do advertising or
uh,
did you?
yeah, I did. I did some advertising. I was learning about Facebook advertising from a course that I took from Mark Dawson's website, and so I played around a little bit with the ads, and it was more for me to understand what I was learning than that I was really making a push in advertising. But I did get a few subscribers from that, not many. And I'm on my author page on Facebook. I put I just like made posts, and I think I put some posts on my personal page. Um, I don't have a lot of subscribers because like I said, I didn't really do a hard push to get it. But I did get a few. And then if you go to my website, there's a link that says get a free serial story by signing up to or it's a part of the page if you scroll down. So that's about it. But
All right,
like I
so
said, I haven't really tried hard. So I think I have 35
all right, so I did
subscribers.
similar. I have on my website, as soon as you go to my website, a few seconds later, a pop-up pops up. Also, my Facebook page for my author page has a sign up now little thing that we will click and will
Yeah,
take
I
you
have that
there.
too. Yeah.
I've also done paid advertising. I was pretty successful with it. I stopped doing it just because I was, I was just practicing the same thing that Tina said is I did $1 a day instead of 5. I did $1 a day. I went way cheap and I did 2 different ads. So it ended up being $2 a day and I did it for about a month. And I ended up getting within that month 60 some or 70 some subscribers, which I thought that's not too bad because those subscribers will hopefully, roll over um, into paid, but we're not talking advertising today, so I don't want to spend much time on that. Another way that I have built my newsletter is I've done promos with other authors. So BookFunnel, which we're going to hopefully have another episode about BookFunnel in the future, but through BookFunnel you can find promotions that other people start where you sign up and everybody offers a free book, and then people, in order to get your free book, they sign up for your newsletter. And so I've done that, and I've added quite a few that way as well. Word of mouth. There's a cool thing that BookFunnel does. And this is why I'm very excited about doing a BookFunnel episode, but you can get printable codes that you print out on business cards, a piece of paper, whatever, and they're each code, each one of them is unique. So if you hand it to somebody, they can't hand it out to a bunch of people, but you hand it to somebody and they can download a book, but they have to sign up for your email that way too. That's a great thing when you're out and about and people are like, oh, you're a writer, hand them the code, which is pretty cool. And then
I really like that.
I've been also getting quite a few from the back of my books. So in the very back of your book, make sure you have a link to sign up for your newsletter because people will do that. I had somebody sign up for my newsletter, and once they were on my newsletter, they went through my automation system and got to where it said, hey, I have a reader group. The person joined my reader group. I've had more than one person, but this particular person joined my reader group. And now she is one of the most active people in my reader group and has been one of my advanced readers. So don't discount anywhere that you can put a little link for your newsletter, because you might get a couple of really good fans that'll do a lot of footwork for you and passing around the word for you.
Now, do you have a survey asking people where
Yeah, I
they
think that's
saw it?
good.
No, I know you can do that. I haven't done that, but since I don't do a whole lot of push, I can kind of tell. And I think that there's ways of going into your newsletter, or your aggregator, and finding that out. But I know
Yeah.
this person because she chatted with me a little bit online, so that's the only reason why I know.
Yeah,
People,
I know that in MailerChimp, you can go in there and they tell you like where they clicked to get to you. So
yep. Newsletter swaps are something I
All
have
right.
not done.
Well,
Sorry. There's a real quick newsletter swaps I have not done because I am very protective of my newsletter list, as I think everybody else should. And if somebody out on a Facebook group just says, hey, I write historical Christian romance, who wants to swap, meaning put me in your newsletter, I'll put you in yours. And if I haven't read their books, I don't feel comfortable doing that, because what if they aren't as Christian as they should be? I hate to say it that way. Or what if it's not great writing? I'm very protective of my list. And so I have not done those, but maybe someone else has had success. Sorry, Jamie, it's all yours.
oh, that's all right. I was just going to transition us out of the topic of the day and into feedback time. But before we do that, how's the chat look? Does anybody have any suggestions for us as far as ways that they have reached out and gotten newsletter subscribers, or any questions before we move on? Last chance.
Robin Sardi says that Story Origin that's similar to BookFunnel is currently free. So I don't know what that is, but sounds like something to check out.
Ooh.
She also is very.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to talk about it.
She's also really sad that the topic time is over.
Oh. Well, if there's more to be said, we don't have to move on.
I think we're good. She agreed that if she'd only do it for someone that she's read or that she knows. I agree with that. So, but it is tempting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is tempting when you're in these groups of Christian authors on Facebook and everyone is like encouraging and you want to build your list and it seems like, oh, great, everyone's doing it. But I've heard horror stories. So I would shy away from that unless you've read their work and you know that they're a solid writer and they're a solid that they're not doctrine, but like that there's not going to be things that are questionable in their writing. Because I've read some Christian novels that I was like, ooh, like swear words and things like that I never would have allowed if I were writing it. So.
And as a subscriber to different authors, I don't know how I feel about them swapping me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you choose who you swap with. Like you and I would agree to swap, but I don't have time to read everybody's newsletter or everybody's book that would want to swap. So that would be the problem right there. So
yeah, I think Tina is under a misunderstanding. She thinks that you're giving away your list of email contacts to a different person.
No, actually, I've heard people doing that, and you can get into a lot of trouble.
No, you were talking about that.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, though, so I can clarify. No, technically, a newsletter swap is where I agree that I will I will feature Tina and her book in my newsletter and send it out in exchange for her featuring me and my book in her newsletter.
Oh.
So if you've read the book, great. I feature like what I'm reading. That's featuring another author. That's not a swap. I do that because I've read it or I am reading it, and I will be honest and say whether or not I like it or not. So I've done that before, but no, newsletter swaps are straight up. Somebody is in a Facebook group with you for authors and says, I have a new book coming out. Who will swap with me because they want to have that promotion. So if you're in a group and you trust everybody in the group or a large portion of them, then that would probably be okay. But I have not gotten to know enough of them to do that.
Yes. And what the benefit presumably is that when they click to look more at whatever the promotion is, that they would then sign up and become a subscriber to your newsletter. So that's kind of how you're supposed to get the new subscriber is through the promotion of your work.
Yes.
Okay, well, if we want to keep this conversation going, Christian Indie Writers Podcast is on Twitter. You can throw a question out to us. We'd be happy to answer you. So if you have more questions about newsletters and how to fill them up and send them out, go ahead and hit us up on social media. We'd love to have the conversation over there. But right now, we're going to move on to our word sprint feedback time. We set a timer for 15 minutes. And instead of having words this week, we had a really fun prompt sent through to us by Jennifer. Jennifer, why don't you go first? I love making you go first, unless you need to have a drink of water or something.
Yeah, no, that's your favorite.
And then you can tell us what our...
So I found this prompt in this little book that I have that I couldn't locate this morning. I've showed it before. It's a great little itty bitty book that I just pull out every so often to write something from. But I read the prompt earlier this week, and what it was is you've just opened your refrigerator to discover that someone has replaced all your food with food that you hate, and you need to write your response. So mine went in a different direction than I expected. Like I started writing in first person. It just didn't feel right. I kept changing it. And finally, I found that I was actually needing to write in the voice of characters that I've written before. And I've written 2 or 3 different times in this. It's a married couple. If you recall, the first time I wrote about them was we had the word bucket. And so the story was bucket list, and that the wife had on her bucket list to go swim in this grotto with a waterfall, something. And when she got there, she was like, "Oh, there's probably fish in there," and the husband's like, "We drove all this way," and he pushed her in. I don't know if you recall the next one that I wrote. One of them had to do with there's something going on with her. Like that's why there was the bucket list, is because she's probably sick. And so I'm back with those characters today. I just really felt like that's who this story needed to be. So here you go. "Honey," Doris called from the kitchen. Charles didn't respond. He knew he couldn't avoid the inevitable argument that was forthcoming, but that didn't make him any more eager to meet it head on. For a few moments, he thought he'd been wrong. Maybe there would be no argument. Maybe his wife would realize that. Before his mind could finish the thought, a large green vegetable crashed through the newspaper he had been hiding behind and fell into his lap. "What, pray tell, is this?" Doris stood over him, hands on hip, foot tapping at the speed of a woodpecker in pursuit of a buried insect. Charles shrugged innocently. "Looks like a zucchini to me. Haven't you ever seen one before?" "I know what a zucchini is," she nearly shouted. "What I don't know is why it is in my refrigerator." Where else would you, excuse me, where else would you like me to put it?" He snapped the newspaper barrier back into place before she had time to tell him where he knew she actually wanted him to house the vegetable she found so offensive. But before he could pretend to read even one sentence, the sports section was ripped from his hands. Or more correctly, part of the sports section was ripped from his hands. He still gripped two small slivers, his hands still poised in the paper holding position. "Where is my Diet Cola?" "Gone." "Gone? What do you mean, gone?" "I poured it down the drain." The look of pain on Doris's face reminded him of the time he'd had to tell their daughter, 9 years old at the time, that her beloved guinea pig had gone home to be with Jesus. "And my caramel macchiato?" Her voice nearly cracked as she said the words. "The doctor said that green tea was a much better option for you right now." She blinked several times. "Is that what all this green stuff in the refrigerator is? Better options?" "Well, most people call them vegetables. Are you trying to kill me?" Charles's heart stopped beating. He laid the shred remains of the tiger's score on the table next to his recliner, stood and grasped his wife by the shoulders. "I can't live without you, Doris. I'm doing everything I can to see that I don't have to. 3, 2, 1.
Hmm.
So I didn't get to the point
Was sweet
where,
scene.
Oh.
That's an
yeah,
interesting switch. Usually it's the woman who wants the man to be healthier, but of course
right.
she's sick. So
Yeah, I think that this is going to end up being short story something, and it's going to be all from his perspective. And I've decided the wife does have cancer, only because I can speak to that. I mean, not to the point where I had to do chemo, but
Mhm.
I did radiation. But yeah, I think that I want it to be humorous, and I want us to love this old couple. And so this needs some reworking, because I want it to be like very funny that he's taking her food away, and but then it ultimately we know why he's doing it. So,
Mhm.
anywho, that's it.
It was very good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
picked up on the humor.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right, I want to hear
Awesome.
from Jamie
All right.
next.
Oh, yeah. Maybe get it over with so that the lag is not a problem. You guys are hearing me okay, right?
Yes.
All right. Here we go. Seafood. Every morsel, every scrap, every food item in my refrigerator is seafood. I clapped my hand over my nose and mouth and slammed the door, then leaned my body against it, wondering how this could have happened. Hadn't I taken advantage of the double coupon day at Stop and Shop only the afternoon before? Hadn't I optimistically bought packages of prepared salad mix and a sleeve of rainbow peppers, thinking of the stir fry that I was going to make? Thinking of the Oreos I'd purchased for my daughter and the to-go pouches of applesauce I'd bought for my son, I crossed to the pantry and flinged the door open. Smiling shrimps wearing top hats greet me, their pink forms stamped on yellow packaging with Oriental characters imprinted upon it. Shrimp Flakes is written in small font at the bottom. I moved these aside only to find more garishly decorated packages with descriptions of food items I'd never seen before. What is going on? I wonder. The phone rings. I pick it up and say hello, and a female voice comes over the line speaking in a language I cannot understand. I am able to sort of pick up via context cues that the person on the other end of the line is just as confused about talking to me as I am about talking to her. She is ranting now, and as her stream of consciousness continues in my ear, I turn to look again at the pantry full of shrimp flakes and seaweed wrappers. Then I see move and turn to see a small woman enter the kitchen. She is wearing a white bathrobe, and her hands are on the belt as though she'd just tied it around herself. Her bleary eyes fix on my form as I jump and let out a startled shriek. She screams and points a finger at me. My hands reflexively fly into the air as though it were a gun and not a small delicate digit she was brandishing. The phone falls and spins dangling from its coiled cord. The woman rushes past me to pick it up, and now she is speaking in what sounds like the same language to the woman who is on the other end of the line. It hits me then. I am not in my kitchen. Like a summer downpour, I suddenly notice oddities about the kitchen that I should have had as clues all along. The backsplash is different, not the elegant slate tiles Jerry and I had selected, but the horrid builder-grade laminate that comes standard with all new builds. The cabinets are what had tricked me. They were the same raised panel mahogany that we'd selected. Still, how did I find myself here? I had no time to think. I had to remove my trespassing tushy from the premises before Mrs. Homeowner decided to actually find her real gun or to hang up with her panicked companion and dial 911. I fled from the kitchen and easily found the front door, the home being the same layout as the one Jerry and I had commissioned. Once I reached the sidewalk, I slowly looked around. I was in a cul-de-sac, much like the one I lived in myself. The question was I one street away or more? I examined the signs of life around me. A woman digging in a flower bed. A man was standing in a window holding a white mug of coffee. He seemed to be looking straight at me. As I watched, he lifted the mug in a here's to you sort of fashion and grinned. Jerry. I ran across the street and attempted to push through the front door, but it was locked. I rapped impatiently upon it. Who is it? Jerry's voice came through the door. Ha ha! Very funny. Let me in before the cops show up. I'm not sure I'm interested in aiding and abetting this morning, returned his voice, but I did hear the mechanism of the lock working.
Yay! I love
That's
that.
so funny.
You wrote it in first person, but is this Jerry and is this the character that we love? Ah, that's
Does she have
awesome.
pregnancy
Yeah.
brain, or what's her problem? Why did she go in the wrong house?
I am not sure. The track that I was heading on before the timer went off, is it something to do with, because remember there was a hint also that she was experiencing illness, Jennifer.
Yes.
And it might just be like a medication thing. It might be sleep deprived new baby thing. Like, I just don't know. It really depends on where this falls in the timeline of their life, you know.
And I love that. I don't know if people that
but it really was inspired by, haven't you ever, well, I mean, haven't you not ever almost gotten into the wrong car?
Right. Plus, if you don't live around here or live in the United States, you don't understand like these track homes, right? Like these homes like that are built by builders at contractor grade, they all are alike with slight differences, maybe. So it would be very easy, just like almost getting in the wrong car. Mm-hmm. Gina, who is masking as White Ostrich, says, anyone getting the hint that Jamie doesn't like seafood? I don't think it was much of a hint. I think it was pretty sure. And then she also said, I think I would write this prompt from the point of view of the food, like a gang fight between the good food and the bad food.
Very good.
That would be funny.
I would want to read that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome.
Jamie, I love your description of the shrimp package with the little dancing shrimp.
Mm-hmm. At first, I thought it was a fantasy. Like, is there really dancing shrimp there?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, as I was reading it, I wondered if people were going to think there were actually dancing shrimp there. But it was funny. I think I'm inspired by Tina's visit to the Asian market, because I have also been to an Asian market where I'm just like, wow, look at this. And their packaging and their promotion and their advertisements are, kind of like this fun, like everything is like, have fun and buy this package of whatever. And I like packaging, like I get an iPhone, I like the box, all that stuff. So anyway, yeah, it was an impression, I think, from Tina's adventure this week that was stuck with me.
One more from White Ostrich.
All right. Well,
I would never get in the wrong car, Mom.
Oh, my word. Oh, that is such a story. I will save that for the privacy of after the podcast.
All right.
Oh boy.
I'm sure White Ostrich is very thankful for your discretion.
Yeah.
All right. So, Rhonda, why don't you go ahead and share your story for us?
Okay. Low-fat watermelon slices? I'm incredulous. What a scam. Watermelon has never hit any fat anyway. I look at my 5'2", bucko 3-pound cousin and shake my head. I can't believe you fell for this marketing ploy. I reach back into my refrigerator and pull out an unfamiliar plastic bottle of mayonnaise, noticing it slop against the sides of the container as it moves. Again, I look at her, hoping it will shame her for invading my territory. Do you know what viscosity is? I hold the bottle up to her eye level and give it a little shake. Mayonnaise can do this. Still glaring at her, I reach into the cold again, intending to grab my own jar of real mayo and demonstrate its magical ability to stick to a spoon held upside down. But my hand does not feel the comforting coolness of the metal lid. I blindly feel around for a moment, not breaking my glare with this traitor. A cold sweat breaks out on my lip as the realization dawns on me. What did you do? Even the mayo? It dawns on me that she actually meant it when she said she was going to clean my fridge out and replace everything with low-fat ingredients. I thought you were just... Now, honey. She laid her long and delicate hand-modeled digits on my shoulder. That's it, as far as I got. I've got so much more to say.
Yay.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I want to hear the rest
Do
of this.
not touch a girl's mayonnaise.
Right?
I know.
Seriously.
I grew up.
I just want to know if Tina also included the word digit in her story, because then that would be a bonus word.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I did not.
I grew up eating Miracle Whip. If you're outside the United States, you may not know what Miracle Whip is, but I love Miracle Whip. And my husband is like,
Uh-huh.
but now that I've been eating more LCHF and I've discovered that mayonnaise really is superior to Miracle Whip, because Miracle Whip is very much chemical-y. But yeah. So when she said that, like reaching for the mayonnaise and like the heart palpitating, I was dying. That was hilarious.
You're probably going to have to explain what LCHF means, because I don't know that many people know that.
Low carb, high fat. So
I knew it, but there was a time I didn't. So
one more mayonnaise comment. A friend's husband had his father bring his favorite mayonnaise from Latin America because stuff here isn't good enough. It's probably more natural and probably like more genuine outside of, at least outside the United States.
This doesn't have those tasty chemicals.
Okay, you can laugh about that. But I've been eating some organic and some good, like the good mayonnaise, and it doesn't taste as good. I don't even know. White Ostrich says, no, only mayonnaise here, no Miracle Whip.
Yeah.
I grew up on Miracle Whip also.
Yeah.
Like camping trips in Alaska, side of the road, Wonder Bread, Oscar Mayer bologna, and Miracle Whip. Iceberg lettuce.
Preach.
On the side of the road with the animals. Like, that's what we ate.
Except switch out the Oscar Mayer for Kogel's bologna, and if you're not from Flint, then it doesn't even make any sense to you. But Kogel's bologna and a thick slice of tomato. All right, we got.
The mayonnaise discussion can be very hostile, especially here in the South. There's Blue Plate and Duke's, and people will come to blows over the superior mayonnaise or salad dressing. If you're gonna count in things like Miracle Whip, it's really very interesting. People are very passionate about what their favorites are. We are a divided house. We have both in our fridge, mayonnaise and Miracle Whip. But I have yet to branch out and try something like a Blue Plate, because hello, $6 a jar. And then if you don't like it, you can't be like, well, I had some and now I'm going to donate to the food pantry. So it's kind of like a big risk. I got to find myself a little jar.
Yep, there you go.
All right. So enough about mayonnaise, I suppose. Tina, what did you write for us today?
Okay, I might have accidentally tried my hand at creative nonfiction.
Yay.
Or biographical stuff. I don't know. I'm just making up my own words now. You can do that when you're a writer. Okay, here we go. What in the world are fava beans? Bob asked, wrinkling his nose as he squinted at the package. They're a bean, Tina replied, rolling her eyes. I have a recipe that calls for them. I don't know, said Bob, stretching the words out like an accordion playing a tune.
Good.
We are going to get healthy around here if it kills us, Tina replied, taking the beans out of Bob's hand and placing them in the cupboard beside the bags of black beans and pinto beans on the shelf. It just might, Bob replied, opening the refrigerator and peering in for several moments. Is there anything to actually eat in here? I'm not sure goat cheese is even edible, he said. The refrigerator is packed full of food. Make yourself a salad, Tina sighed as she put the container of nutritional yeast away. Chris, who was loading the dishwasher, pulled an earbud out and said, who was the guy who was sitting around one day and said, I wonder if goat cheese is as good as cow cheese, and set out to make some? I'm guessing goat cheese came first, Tina replied, probably along the same time as sheep cheese. The cow stuff came later, I think. Maybe you should Google it. Chris shrugged and put his earbud back in. Ew, what is this? Bob asked, holding up a green fruit. It looks like it has dinosaur skin. It's a jackfruit, Tina replied. It's for a recipe, so put it back. She took the fruit from his hand and put it back in the drawer before rummaging around. Here, she said, handing Bob a jar of pickles and a container of grapes. Oh, cool, grapes. Bob grabbed the items from Tina's hand and shuffled into the living room, where the strains of the MASH theme song could be heard. Do you think grilled cheese would taste good on that bread with all the seeds and stuff? Asked Chris as he pushed the button to start the dishwasher. I don't know. Try it, Tina replied. Feeling a sense of satisfaction at the bowl of fruit on the cabinet and a fridge full of veggies, Tina opened the fridge and started to look for a snack. Then she headed into the living room to steal the grapes.
Yay!
That
I
was so
love
good.
that.
Yeah, it was very complete. There's a beginning, a middle, and a great ending to
Yep.
stealing the grapes.
Yep.
Yeah, because there was nothing to eat in the refrigerator.
That was
I
such a
wanted
great
to say
example.
that, but
That was such a great example of creative nonfiction too. I give you an A+.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I don't think you need to tell
Yay!
us that
Well-
there was nothing else to eat. Like you showed us that. Like that we totally
That
get
was
that.
my hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was great because it was like, she's coming from this place of superiority until she's kind of like, oh, oops, yeah, maybe there really isn't anything here right now to eat. Yeah. That's awesome, ladies. Well, I really appreciate you guys sharing your work. I know it's a little bit scary to share something that you haven't edited, that you just took 15 minutes to write. White Ostrich out there or anybody else who wants to take on the challenge and sprint for 15 minutes and write your own story about somebody replacing everything in your refrigerator with things that you hate, please do so. And then send us a link and we'll all read it. And we only give positive feedback, so no worries, because we know it's a 15-minute sprint and you haven't edited. And for the most part, they end up just being a real fun thing to read. So please share. Okay, and we have to move on to our accountability corner. We only just have a few minutes. Oh, shucks. We only have a few minutes to talk about accountability. But let's go around the circle. And it's so funny because my kids go to a co-op. I'll go first. And the lady was like, oh, who did their homework this week? And some hands, went up and some didn't. And she's like, well, it was a hurricane week. I'm like, is this the equivalent of like the snow day that really is only like 2 inches of snow? Because she's like, because it was a hurricane week, we're just going to, forgive everybody for not doing the homework. And it's like, but there was no hurricane, right? But I guess what happens is people get all in their head about prepping. Some of them evacuate and whatever. And so anyway, but the bottom line is I cannot use hurricane week as an excuse for not being more diligent. Now, I did actually open my document and look at it and read through, so you would say, oh, I was spending time editing. But frankly, I just spent a lot of time saying, this isn't so bad. This isn't so bad, because it just didn't really feel like doing the work of making it better. But I did really need to encourage myself that it was worth continuing. Does that make any sense? Mm-hmm. So I can't really say I edited like 3 chapters this week, but for sure I revisited my piece and feeling my way around the edges of really digging into it, which is progress for me. I don't know. I've been having some weird block ever since like June or July, but I'm really happy with the progress. But going forward, goodness, how do I set a goal? I really need to be more diligent about working. When I say I'm going to work, we do the sprint, and then that can't just be all. I need to be working for those 2 hours every day, or I'm never going to get anywhere. So that's going to be my commitment for this week. What about you, Tina? I see you nodding your head. Do you have something to agree with about that?
Yeah, it's really easy once the sprint is over and everyone's like, well, I got this to do and that to do, and they're all gone and you're not on there anymore. To just kind of goof around and not really work as hard. But I was going to say that sometimes reading through what you've written and taking the time to chew on it for a few days can really help, because then you can go back to it and you've been thinking about it and you have fresh ideas.
Awesome, thanks.
But
So what is your goal?
Well, I just need to get my butt in the chair and do the work of editing my book.
Yeah.
And not get distracted. Yeah. You know, I spent 3 days this week on the phone with Capital One when I should have been doing office hours. So, I could have just made myself put that off, you know, but I didn't. So I'm with you in the corner, with our noses in the corner, being like, oh,
yeah. And you and I maybe need to spur each other on. Okay, now we're going to keep working. You know, I mean, that's the whole point of the office hours anyway. So let's help hold each other accountable on a daily basis, and so that we don't go a whole week with our heads hung in shame. Now, Rhonda, I know you have a glowing report for your accountability corner this week. Let's hear it.
Okay. Well, first let me say, Jamie, I think we could all be willing to give you a stash week. Maybe not a snow week, maybe not a hurricane week, but we can give you a stash week occasionally.
Aww.
Okay. So, yes, I've had a wonderful week. I've gotten so much accomplished on my nonfiction. One thing that I have learned about myself in the last couple of weeks is that I have no concept of what time means. Okay. And that's not only in writing or like how long it should take me to do something, but just time in general. So, anyway, I'm trying to come up with some skills to like avoid taking too long to do something, spending too much time on something else, getting things done that aren't quite as much fun and that sort of thing. But anyway, it has really helped a lot to get my book done. And I was hoping to have a proof copy to show you today. And I know I've said that before, but this was way more realistic than it was before. But I will have one before I fly away. So next week I'll have a copy, even if I print it off of my printer myself. So,
well, it's going to be an amazing week for you. You've got that celebration for the Daughters of the American Revolution. You're flying to Croatia, which will be amazing, and you're going to have a book out.
Yeah,
that's really a banner week for you, Rhonda.
It
awesome.
Really is.
So excited, and I'm sad that you won't be around to celebrate with us. Maybe we need to put your head on a popsicle stick so that we can tell you good job and
no maybe about it though. We'll
Jennifer does need a friend.
Golly. always.
I am never ever going anywhere and missing this podcast again.
I don't recommend it.
Rhonda, is your plan to just take a vacation from writing also while you're in Croatia? Are you going to try to make some notes? Are you going to journal? What's the plan?
No, I do still want to do a little bit of writing. I will be taking my computer with me, and I've done it always. But I am the official scribe for our group that goes and does this. So I will be writing, even if it's only our daily journal and our creative nonfiction per day on that. But I guess I didn't mention that I also have the fiction organized. I spent one day last weekend, and I know exactly what my last few scenes are going to be to get that finished. So
good for you.
Maybe I know I won't be able to get it finished, but maybe a second draft finished on it on the cruise.
Look, I know that we're a little over an hour, but can you please explain? I thought you were just going with John. Who are you going with on this trip? You're making it sound like a club or something?
It is a club. It's our family club. Okay, so every 2 years, we charter a catamaran, and we sail around islands. And my husband and his family, they grew up on Lake Fenton, a lake around here. And they've got gills behind the ears. They are complete water people. And so we just bareboat charter. And so there are 8 people that go. There's 4 cabins, 4 couples altogether. And so it's one year we took a non-family couple with us, and that was a lot of fun too because they're amazing people. But this year it's all family again, and it's a niece this time, niece and her new husband, instead of just the older family
Oh,
member.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, and how wonderful that they have you to keep records of everything that happened. That's really a blessing for someone to be the one to do that. Yeah, if you guys are a writer and because I'm always the one that takes pictures, it seems like, when there's a group of people doing things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something for people to consider doing for their own family. Well, we'll miss you, and we'll have to talk about what we'll do with you being gone. But now we have to get to Jen in the accountability corner because we're a little over today. What's up, Jen?
Just super quick. White Ostrich says, "Yeah, without me."
I didn't know she wanted to go.
Robin said her accountability is she did a brave thing. I found out. I chatted with her, and she driver's license. Also, her house was dug up. Pics are on Instagram and other exciting things that she'll talk about later. So, golly, house dug up. Ugh. So,
wow.
Yeah. So my accountability is much less exciting than that. I have gotten very little done on the book this week, on Phoebe's book, and it's because life. And you ladies know, with everything, there's so many interruptions. There's just so many people in my life that just need me right now, and it's often at the drop of a hat. Doctor's appointments and running to the school, and it's been a crazy week. So, but I did get some things done. So for next week, I got to get 2 chapters edited. I just have to. I have to put that on me. But what I did get accomplished this week, and I forgot to mention, was I created this free printable for today's episode.
Yeah.
So if you were listening to this and trying feverishly to write down some notes, I've created a newsletter cheat sheet with some ideas of what you can include in your email, as well as some do's and don'ts at the bottom there. You can get this along with lots of other freebies that we have created by subscribing to our newsletter. Just go to christianindywriters.net and subscribe there, and you will have access to all of these free printables.
Yay.
Awesome. Well, Jen, and we were talking before we went on the air, and you mentioned a little about the therapy that you used to go to. Like, there just hasn't even been time for you to keep up with that. I mean, even if it was not a matter of a deductible or kind of whatever. Right. So we understand that. And it makes me feel all the more guilty. Does it make you feel guilty, Tina? Because like, we have time and we are mismanaging our time and not handling it appropriately. So hopefully the two of us will be better this week, and be thankful that we do have this time that Jen is desperately lacking right now. So but Jen, you did make some advancements. I saw a newsletter come out. I saw you engaging with the people in your Facebook group. So
yes,
you have done some things.
Yeah, I don't ever walk away completely from it, but marketing, it seems to be easier for me to fit in, because I can do it like in the middle of the night or whatever. But the creative space in my mind that comes with editing and writing, I've just not been able to have enough time to do that. So, but thank you for that. I appreciate for that encouragement. I do need to remember that I'm still working. So,
right. Okay. So, anything else to add before we sign off? No. All right. Well, in that case, this concludes this episode of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast. And until next week, may your pen be prolific, may your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ. Bye now.
Bye, everyone.